Krishna dear devotees, my humble obeisances to you all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you all for joining His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj's daily class. Today we are continuing with our Srimad Bhagavatam series of first canto, chapter 19, appearance of Sri Sukadeva Goswami, and today's verse is 20. Hare Krishna Maharaj, my humble obeisances to you, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for your time and association. You can please take over, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, my obeisances to all the Vaishnavas. Vanchakalpa Drubhascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Navadidam Rajarsi Varya Chitram Bhavatsu Krishnam Samanuvratesu Yadvasanam Raja Kirita Justam Sadyo Jahor Bhagavad Parsmakamaha. The sages said, O chief of all saintly kings of the Pandu dynasty, who are strictly in the line of Lord Shri Krishna, it is not at all astonishing that you give up your throne, which is decorated with the helmets of many kings, to achieve eternal association with the personality of Godhead. Purport: foolish politicians who hold political administrative posts think that the temporary posts they occupy are the highest material gain of life, and therefore they stick to those posts even up to the last moment of life, without knowing that achievement of liberation as one of the associates of the Lord in his eternal abode is the highest gain of life. The human life is meant for achieving this end. The Lord has assured us in the Bhagavad Gita many times that going back to Godhead, his eternal abode, is the highest achievement. Prahlad Maharaj, while praying to Lord Nrsingadev, said, "O my Lord, I am very much afraid of the materialistic way of life, and I'm not at least afraid of your present ghastly, ferocious feature as Nrsingadev. This material way of life is something like a grinding stone, and we are being crushed by it. We have fallen into this horrible whirlpool of the tossing waves of life, and thus, my Lord, I pray at your lotus feet to call me back to your eternal abode as one of your servitors." This is the summit liberation of this materialistic way of life. I have very bitter experience of my materialistic way of life, and whichever species of life I've taken, buried, compelled by the force of my own activities, I have very painful experience two things, namely separation from my beloved and meeting with what is not wanted. And to counteract them, the remedies which I have undertook were more dangerous than the disease itself. So I drift from one point to another, birth after birth, and I pray to you, therefore, to give me shelter at your lotus feet. The Pandava kings, or more than the many saints of the world, knew the bitter results of the materialistic way of life. They were never captivated by the glare of the imperial throne they occupied, and they sought always the opportunity of being called by the Lord to associate with him eternally. Maharaj Parikshit was the worthy grandson of Maharaj Yudhisthira. Maharaj Yudhisthira gave up the imperial throne to his grandson, and similar Maharaj Parikshit, the grandson of Maharaj Yudhisthira, gave up the imperial throne to his son Janamejaya. In this way, all the kings in the dynasty, because they are strictly in the light of Lord Krishna. Thus, the devotees of the Lord are never enchanted by the glare of materialistic life, and they live impartially, unattached to the objects of false, illusionary, materialistic way of life. Om Gyananandasya Gyana Jana Sadakaya Chaksu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapti Tamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadammayam Dati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Shiguru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shigurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagujatam Sahaganat Raganatam Vidham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahaganat Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha Ma Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Pastyatya Dea Satarine Vanchakopa Tarubhischa Vipa Sindhuve Pacha Patitanam Bhavane Vaishnave Vyo Namaho Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the more one progresses in materialistic life, the more one suffers. And the more one progresses in spiritual life, the more one frees themselves from suffering and achieves a permanent and eternal happiness. Two opposite ways that the living entity is. The living entity is Tatastha Shakti. There is the Bahiranga Shakti, which is the external energy. There is the Antaranga Shakti, which is the internal energy. And the Tatastha Shakti is the living entity who is spiritual but encased in the material energy. So that Tatastha Shakti is called marginal. Marginal means it can go towards the material or it can go towards the spiritual. He has a choice because in the human, and that choice is only available in the human form of life, where intelligence is developed to understand what is beneficial and what is unbeneficial. Now, those who are actually in knowledge of reality of life do not waste time trying to increase their material arrangements or to look for happiness in the material world. They know that everything they achieve is simply temporary and fraught with many miseries. Nectar of Devotion explains that any material activity has two reactions to it. You get a result according to the nature of the material activity, and it impels one to continue in that same way. Now, this is material life. Material life consists of the mind, intelligence, and the senses trying to enjoy the objects of the senses, which are temporary and fraught with different miseries. Everyone who gets some kind of material satisfaction or happiness has to undergo two principles. One is that they lose it in due course of time, and the other one is that it may not give them the happiness that they experience. They have to suffer also. Material life is dualistic. It is based on two opposites. And whatever happiness or so-called happiness that material life may provide, there is a concomitant amount of suffering attached to that. You love someone, you center your life around them, and then either they disappoint you or they leave you in due course of time, or death separates that situation, and then there is suffering. So this is the nature of material life. It is designed in order to punish the living entity for his desire to leave the Lord in the spiritual world and come separately to try to eke out a life separate from the Lord, which is not possible. One cannot be separated from the Lord. One can think themselves separate from the Lord, but that thought is not the reality. Just like a person can leave home and give up the relationship with their family, but still the relationship is there, although they are not in personal contact. So we have left the spiritual world to come to this material world to somehow or other try to fulfill our own desires for happiness. But we are still connected with the Lord. Either we're connected with him through his external energy, which is a punishing agency, or we are connected with him with his loving mood, which is his direct spiritual energy. Either way, the connection is eternal and can never be broken by our activities or even our consciousness. But our consciousness, when it's not connected to the Lord in devotional service or in the activities that bring about the happiness and knowledge that we're looking for in life, then those activities simply relegate one to a constant cycle of taking birth, getting old, disease, dying, undergoing the threefold miseries of life, adhyatmika, miseries of the body and mind, adidaivika, miseries caused by other living beings, and I mean that's adibhautika, and then adidaivika, miseries caused by higher powers. So the material world is designed for the defeat of the living entity. There's no way they can win in this material. But so therefore, one who is actually understanding that principle and understands who they are and what is their actual path of success, they are actually in knowledge, and that knowledge will inspire them to achieve the goal of eternal life and the happiness and the association with the eternal one, with our eternal lover, Sri Krishna, in the spiritual world. People cannot understand spiritual life, and therefore they look towards material life because they think they can understand that and deal with that. But if we read the scriptures, we hear from the great souls, we also associate with devotees who are on that pure spiritual platform, then all of the knowledge and the realization that comes with that knowledge will be given to that devotee, where they can understand, yes, the spiritual world is my home. The spiritual world is where I want to be, because that's my actual destination in life. And so, therefore, here we see Prabhupada says, foolish politicians, they stick to their political posts all the way to the end of life, even though their bodies are breaking down and they cannot even function according to how they used to function in their position. Now they're actually quite, what's the word? Looking for that word. They're quite, I can't think. They're quite pathetic. That's it. It's pathetic. Yeah. The patheticness of it is they're trying to gain something that they cannot gain, and they still think they can. So this attachment to the material world is deep because of it. It builds from each life that the living entity associates with. So Maya Davase, Kachu Bese, Kachu Ha Bu Bu Dubai. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, yes, life after life after life. Karnanguna Sango So Sarasa Joni Janmasu. Same attachments, the same arrangements, different players in the same program. It's like a video game. You play the same game, but there might be a different type of theme in each of the video games, but still it's a video game and you're trying to overcome this game. So we can't win because death will come along and take everything away anyway. Even if we get some material achievement and some accolades based on that material, that will all be, for a devotee, is very ephemeral. They never think, oh, these things are things that I should aspire for. They know that that takes them away from their attention on Krishna. And therefore, they're always thinking how to get closer to Krishna in devotional service by hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, and moving away from material activities and ultimately spiritualizing their whole life with activities of devotional service. And then they are free from all fear and anxiety. And when it's time to leave the body, it's simply going from one place to another. It's like taking an elevator from leaving the second floor and going to the 8th floor. You're just moving from one position to another, and that's all. And that position is always more beneficial than the previous one. But here, the materialists, they are so attached it's very pathetic. Although they're at the end of their lives, they have some supposedly big position in the material world, and they can't even. One devotee was telling Prabhupada, he had this professor, he was so old, still giving his position in the university, that when he would speak, he would shake. He was more or less ready for some kind of medical help, but still he was hanging on to his position. So people don't understand spiritual life is also full of varieties, activities, positions, and what we say, that knowledge, which is unlimited. In the material world, knowledge is limited, and knowledge is fraught with and mixed in with ignorance. So it's not real knowledge, it's called nescience. It's a type of knowledge that is just knowing something, but not knowing what that knowledge is good for. In other words, the knowledge they gain is not good for anything in their life, and therefore it's just what we say, Shrama eva hi kevalam, it's a useless waste of time. But spiritual life is actually life, because the living entity is spiritual by nature. So all of this is clearly explained in the Vedic literatures. The Vedic literatures are coming from Krishna himself into the heart of Lord Brahma. Teni Brahma Ida Adikavaye. The knowledge we get about Krishna and the spiritual world and the activities of pure devotional service are coming from the Supreme Lord himself. Therefore, they are pure and perfect. There's no question whether they are correct or not, because the Supreme Lord himself is giving that knowledge through his various energies, through his various representatives. And therefore, if we accept it, we are accepting Krishna's words about our own, what we say, future in the spiritual world. We don't have to wonder, well, is it correct or not correct? When we understand the Supreme Lord, he is perfect, and whatever he says is for the benefit of everyone. If we have that knowledge, and he has shown that also by his example, how he's always encouraging his devotees to come closer to him in devotional service. He's the well-wisher of all living entities. He is very much concerned that the living entities wake up to their actual position in relationship to him in devotional service and come back. Just like a very good father is always thinking how to bring the children into the family more and more, so they become an integral part of the family and receive more and more benefit from the parents. Where some children want to stay away from the father and parents and somehow do their own thing, or they only come to the parent when they need something materially, and then otherwise they have no use for the parent. That we see that also in so-called spiritual life. People take up some kind of religion in order to increase their material happiness, their material success. I think by praying to God for material things is actually religion. It's not. It's just, as the scriptures say, it is simply business. Doing business with God and so on. So here, this is a very powerful thing. King Maharaj Parikshit, he is a king. he's been engaged in worldly activities. He has to fight in order to keep his position. He's unconquerable. As it says here, his throne was decorated with the helmets of many kings who he defeated. He is, he has a wonderful family, children. His son, Janamejaya, now becomes the next king as he leaves his post. And he's eager to go back home, back to Godhead. He's not looking back and saying, well, maybe I should stay a little bit longer. I have some more material affairs. No, the first opportunity he gets, he takes advantage of it and uses it to purify his consciousness and ultimately attain to the position of eternal servant of the Lord. So we learn from the Bhagavatam, we learn from the scriptures, what is the actual standard of happiness from these great souls who have lived a very successful material life, many of them. And yet they'll give it up, just like a person goes to the toilet and does their business and then leaves. They don't think about what they did. They just do it and get it over with and go on to their other next activity. So in the same way, the devotees acknowledge they leave this material world just like leaving stool and urine. They have no attachment for it because they know it is simply a form of punishment. And now they're free from their punishment, and now they're ready to experience the reward of eternal life with the Supreme Lord. So devotees in knowledge, and devotee takes knowledge from those who are in knowledge, such as Maharaj Parikshit, Maharaj Yudhisthira. We have all of the examples, King Prithu, so many powerful and influential kings who were not only kings, but they were spiritually enlightened, and they governed their position in the same way. And we also learn from the great souls here, they're congratulating the king. They're saying, you are the best of all kings because you are a Rajarsi, you are fully God conscious. And now you have understood what is the real purpose of life. And now you're achieved. They're congratulating him. So this is the quality of a great soul. And whatever position they may have in the material world, they see that as an opportunity to use it to become Krishna conscious, and not to use their position to gain some material benefit. Because they know you have to do something in the material world in order to live, and they do something in relationship to Krishna and guide others in the same way. So they always use their position for the benefit of others. Here we see Prabhupada said, foolish politicians. They can't even benefit themselves, what to speak about benefiting others. So this is the present day society where we have leaders who are not competent to lead. They gain posts by hook or crook, by nepotism and various other forms of cheating. And then they get in these posts and they simply make laws that cause people to pay more taxes and restrict them from more and more spiritual activities. So here we have to follow the example of Maharaj Parikshit, is that as we get more and more closer to that time when we'll be leaving the body, we keep our mind focused ultimately on the goal. Keeping your mind focused on the goal means achieving the goal. Taking care of material activities may be required, but they're not the goal. They're simply necessary, a necessary burden in this material world. Prabhupada used to say, to have a material body is a form of suffering, but to use the material body in the service of the Lord is the best use of a bad bargain. To get a material body is not a good bargain. One might think, oh, I have such a nice material body. I can do so many things with it. Other people are appreciating my material body. But ultimately is what it is. It's a material body, and it's a chain that keeps the living entity locked into the spirit, into the material cycle of birth and death, life after life. So devotees, they know, okay, I got a material body, let me use it and spiritualize my life and then engage in devotional service. And the essence of that is to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. Here, every day we are doing these classes. Why are we doing that? So we can hear and chant the glories of the Lord and hear and chant the glories of the great souls who have dedicated their lives to serving the Lord. This is one of the most important activities in devotional service. It brings one free from material suffering, and it awakens one's attachment to Krishna more and more. So we have to keep hearing every day the glories of the Lord and the glories of the great devotees, and also take their guidance and engage in practical devotional service. We simply do that. Gradually, we will achieve the position of the eternal associate of the Lord in the spiritual world. Okay, we'll stop there.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, thank you so much. Such a wonderful class about the materialistic way of life and our connection with the Lord. And yeah, I feel like these foolish, and Prabhupada is saying about foolish politicians. I feel like we are also foolish that we are not taking up the devotional service seriously and thinking of going back to Godhead in this lifetime. So, yeah. Thank
Don't
you.
give up. Keep trying.
Yes, Maharaj. Dear devotees, if you have any questions or comments or realizations, you can please go ahead now. Please turn on your cameras if possible. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So, yeah, Maharaj, while others are thinking, so yeah, we are so much entangled in this materialistic way of life. I know these questions, this is a basic question, but we had to have a constant reminders for ourselves not to fall into these traps of this, because nowadays, wherever you see in the social media or outside, everyone is preaching. Everyone is telling others to do something or other, like you do like this, you do like that. So we usually take up those advices and follow. So how to strictly come out of this tender, or we have to focus on what we are learning, what knowledge we are getting.
Yeah. We keep our consciousness connected to the transcendental sound vibration, either through the oral reception or through the process of hearing by reading. So reading, hearing the oral reception, keeping the consciousness connected to the spiritual vibration allows one to bring that consciousness closer and closer to the realization of our position with Krishna. And you see what that's doing, it's cutting away the coverings of the material energy. So self-realization is not about bringing something in, it's cutting away the coverings of material energy due to the association of material energy. And so the hearing process, we will see here, the example is being given. Maharaj Parikshit will sit down and hear for 7 full days. He will do nothing else. He will hear and he will ask questions based on what he hears. And in that way, he will become more and more self-realized through that process of hearing and asking relevant questions. So this is the process. We can also do that. take time to read, take time to associate with devotees, and perform devotional activities. It's not some theoretical mindset that simply appears. It's that there has to be, Prabhupada says, devotional service is practical activity. You have to hear, you have to chant, you have to associate, you have to serve. And the more you do it, and in the quality of submission to the process, the more you cut through these coverings of material energy, they will go automatically. You're simply bringing, it's like removing a disease. The body by nature is healthy, but a disease is something that covers the healthy body. We apply the medicine, and then we also apply the guidance of the doctor along with the medicine, and then gradually the disease goes and the health of the body returns. So to be healthy means to understand my relationship with Krishna and act in that relationship. But the coverings of material energy prevent us from doing that, just like a disease prevents one from acting normally. So continue with the hearing process, chanting, and of course serving. We must serve, because if we don't engage in practical service, we will forget our hearing and the benefits that we achieve from hearing and chanting. Hearing means to hear, I'm a servant, and to hear, how can I serve? Srila Prabhupada would always say, I never asked many questions to my spiritual master, but I did ask one, how can I serve you?
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't ask that question, then we can go on hearing, but we'll get very little benefit from that. We'll get something, but when we hear, oh yes, I'm a servant, and that means I have to serve. So how do I serve? That becomes the second question. If hearing doesn't awaken, hearing and chanting doesn't awaken our service attitude, that means we need to perfect our hearing and chanting and clarify all of our offenses in the process of hearing and chanting. I think, what was his name, was pushing this one little book that was just released by Vaisheshika, 4 questions.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I started reading that. Yeah.
The last question is, where am I placing my attention on right now? So I was thinking about that when I was chanting japa this morning. And then when I found myself being deviated in thought, I realized, oh, I don't want to put my attention there. I want to put my attention on hearing the sound vibration of Krishna. And I kept remembering that this is where my attention, and this is where I want to be. And that helped me to stay away from the mood of deviation, which may come automatically by when we try to chant. I don't want to do that. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to get distracted by that. I want to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. That's what I'm doing, and that's what I want.
Yes, Maharaj, that book is very interesting. I started reading yesterday. So Maharaj and Prabhuji, Vaisheshika Prabhu, he's explaining nicely about the questions, why we have to ask questions and how we are gaining knowledge through the questions we ask. And yeah. Yes, Maharaj. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I'll definitely go. Yes, yes. Yeah. Sridevi Mataji.
Devotees they know the philosophy, but they have a hard time applying the knowledge in a practical way. So this book helps to give us that practical application, the understanding of the practical application. And there, it's also there in Prabhupada's teachings too, but we're simply refining it by presenting the same knowledge in a slightly different presentation.
Mhm. Yes, Maharaj. Sridevi Mataji, please go ahead. Thank you.
Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my most humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. As Gurudev, you were explaining to Srimati, and Srimati's question that there are so many devotee groups and so many different things that they ask us to do. Join this group, and then you can do this and join that group. So when we receive the orders of Guru, and Gurudev tells us what to do, we should just focus on what the spiritual master is asking of us. And all these other things, we should consider it as just distractions from what the spiritual master has asked us to do. Because devotees want you to do so many different things.
Yeah, you have the internet. You can surf the net forever just to see what's going on all around ISKCON. But that won't help you in your spiritual life. There's a thing called spiritual, what is it called? Spiritual sense gratification. It looks spiritual, but it's really not necessary. It's another form of sense gratification. How do we use our time and energy for Krishna consciousness? What is beneficial, or one is just some attraction of the mind? So yeah, write down the essential things. You have to chant your rounds every day nicely, early as possible. Should be reading the books every day, especially Bhagavatam. You should be doing some practical service that is guided by authorities for your development in Krishna consciousness. You should be eating only Krishna prasadam. You shouldn't be talking things that are outside of Krishna consciousness. That's simply for jalpa. Well, there's a nice presentation of things that we should avoid by Srila Rupa Goswami in his presentation called Nectar of Instructions. I'm just reading now one book, which is an overview of Nectar Instructions done by my godbrother. And it's really interesting how he's picking out the essential points of this text and showing how it all connects ultimately to two things. How to avoid those things that take us away from Krishna consciousness, and how to apply those things which are beneficial for our spiritual life. Pretty much that's Nectar of Instructions. And it centers around association. It centers around understanding the process as given by the spiritual master. He simplified everything in a very, what we say, easy to understand presentation. Even Prabhupada's purports in the Nectar Instruction are very simple. They're lengthy, but they're very, very simple. But he's taken it even further, breaking it down even more so, and highlighting some of the important parts some of the outstanding parts that Prabhupada is mentioning. So, yeah.
So this commentary on Nectar of Instruction is by whom, Gurudev?
It's called, his name is Hanumant Praseka Swami. And the book is called Tava Pache Pache. Tava Pache Pache. Hanumat Praseka Swami. He preaches in some South American countries. He's from America. I'll show you the book. But if you read Nectar Instructions, you can get a lot. This is the book that he's presented. It's called Tava Pache Pache. The nice little colorful picture on the top there is Rupa Goswami seeing Srimati Radharani coming. Nice. But Nectar Instructions available too. You can read that. Prabhupada's made it pretty easy to understand it. That nectar of devotion is the science of bhakti. Complete nectar of instruction is a summary of nectar of devotion. And it's really nicely presented. The 6 things that destroy bhakti and how to avoid them. The 6 things that enhance bhakti and how to bring them on.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
6 loving exchanges between Vaishnavas. The different levels of spiritual masters. Well, it's a very interesting book. And then it ends with the more deeper aspects of Krishna consciousness. So if we don't read the books, or we don't hear the lectures, if we don't take time to apply this knowledge, then we'll be confused. We won't be able to take advantage. It's like somebody gives you some money, but you don't know how to use it. So even though you have the money, it doesn't do you any good. Take advantage of it.
So simply focusing on the spiritual master's orders about what is to be done would be the first step in avoiding distractions. Is that correct, Guru Maharaj?
Yeah, when you know what to do, because when the spiritual master tells you, he guides you on the path of devotion, there is 2 aspects, what to do and what to avoid, anukulene and pratikul.
Yes. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Speak, but don't speak nonsense. Eat, but eat only prasadam. Sing and dance, but do it in glorification of the Lord. Perform activities, do it for the pleasure of the Lord. These are all practical, easy to understand, simple activities. But devotees just don't give enough time to Krishna consciousness. They're too much absorbed in their worldly life. And that's why they don't make much advancement. And devotees know what to do. They also know what's right. But they're so much absorbed in their material life that they don't have time to qualify and to qualitize their spiritual life. They just fit it in somewhere. That's the problem. That's why Sri Ishupada says, everything animate and inanimate is owned and controlled by the Lord. and one should take their quota and live accordingly. So the verse is saying, live simply, don't live gorgeously, because if you do, you'll just be spending so much time in that arena of accumulating and using and protecting all of these things, and you have no time for Krishna consciousness. You can have a big house with 3 floors and 10 bathrooms and 6 bedrooms in there. Or you can have one bathroom, maybe 2 bathrooms, and 2 or 3 rooms, kitchen. That's all you need. I mean, you can have a very, high developed watch, does everything. Or you can have a thing that just tells time, which is really the purpose of a watch. I mean, yeah, everything there that isn't of the gorgeous nature is also there in the simple form also. We're too lazy. Instead of taking time to walk to places, we jump in the car and we drive 2 blocks just to go to the store. We waste gas, look for a parking space. I mean, we've complicated our life in this materialistic society. And therefore, in that complication, we're spending so much time to maintain it and to try to get benefit from it. Simplify your life. That's why I was saying, Prabhupada said, go back to a more simplified life. Live on the farms, grow your own food, live naturally. Don't be so much dependent on this materialistic society to give you what you need to live. Krishna has already done that in the form of the material energy. This modern materialistic civilization is simply a product of the Industrial Revolution, created by the capitalists in order to squeeze out the resources of material energy and to work people very hard so they become producers and contribute to this grandiose way of life. That's all. People have no time for Krishna consciousness. They're too busy doing other things. That's the problem.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much for such an elaborate explanation.
Yeah, that's why Prabhupada, I mean, he gave over 100, more than a couple of 100 statements about the importance of going back to a more simplified lifestyle. What he said was the lifestyle was created by God for the livelihood of the living entities. Cities are there. Even in Vedic culture, you had cities. But they weren't places of economic development and sense gratification. They were places to facilitate certain activities of the living entity. But they weren't just like the cities nowadays, all about economic development. And there's no limit to it. I was just talking yesterday how people are still struggling to figure out how to live life in this material world. And they're always coming up with new ideas on how to focus their attention in such a way as to get more benefit from the material world by creating all these books about self-help, mindset, understanding, thought processes, positioning yourself in different ways. So all they're doing is they're just changing seats on the Titanic. That's all they're doing. Titanic is what it is. It's going to go down. And they think by doing all this, but everything is there in the Bhagavatam. It's there in the knowledge given to us by the Acharyas. The Acharyas were never deficient, even in the material sense. They taught us how to live a material life and at the same time make progress towards the goal of life. If your material life doesn't support your spiritual life, then, as the Bhagavatam says, it's Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam. It's a useless waste of time. That's all it is. That's all explained in the second chapter of the first canto. And the verses from 126 all the way up to 1-21. Those verses, if you read that section of the Bhagavatam, you'll know everything. 126 to 1-21, you'll know everything. The whole process, the whole science of bhakti, everything is there. Everything. I'm not using a statement of exaggeration, simply repeating what has been said by the previous acharyas, that whole section there. And it's even condensed down even further in sections within those sections. That whole, Prabhupada did one book called, what is it, Transcendence? Devotees took Prabhupada's lectures from those verses and turned it into a book called something called Transcendence. The small paperback book. I think it's hardcover, but it's a small book. It's called Transcendence. So that's the essence of the Bhagavatam right there, in terms of the execution of devotional service.
Thank you, Maharaj. Sridevi Mataji, you have any further comments?
Yeah, I want to ask this question, Gurudev. What kind of conviction is necessary for people to come together to actually do this? Because if you say farming, everyone looks blankly. We don't know how to farm anymore. Only IT, everywhere you go, people are being trained for IT, but nobody knows how to farm. And then when you say, let's do farming, they say, even the farmers have left the villages. They're not farming anymore. They're coming to the city. So what money is there in farming? These are the kind of things people have no clue what exactly is simple living, high thinking, etc. So for this to happen, do we have to train all the 4 classes? That means Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, and Brahmanas coming together to form these communities, because just Brahmanas talking about it, how is it going to happen? We need organizers, we need managers, we need Shudras, we need the Vaishyas to do the farming, cow protection, etc. And we need the Kshatriyas to organize everything. So does it mean that people need more education?
Prabhupada already gave us the formula. He said the first thing we do is establish this Varnashram college. We're doing that in Mayapur. It's in the process. Varnashram college. Devotees tried to do that years ago, were unsuccessful for whatever reason. Varnashram college is the educational system by which we train the 4 varnas in their occupations and then engage them in devotional service. Without the Varnashram college, you have to set up some kind of educational body to guide people in these different activities and evaluate them according to their tendencies and then engage them in the same way. Yeah, Prabhupada's given it. I mean, you don't have to go anywhere. Prabhupada has given everything, but we don't read Prabhupada's books or listen to his lectures. Even if we do, we don't ask the questions that are relevant based on what we hear and learn. Mhm. So yeah, it's being done. It's not like it's not being done. There are devotees who are doing it. It's happening.
There is one village called Kurmagram in Andhra Pradesh, where several devotee families have come together to grow crops, take care of cows. They have completely done away with any kind of electricity. They have put down bore wells. They draw water from the wells. The children learn to weave clothes on the hand. It's like a hand loom. I've actually seen videos of this project, and they live very simply. They have a gurukul. Apparently, they seem to be quite happy, and many people from all the neighboring towns, villages, cities come to just see how they are living like this simply and peacefully without depending on the outside world.
Yeah, there's devotees who have started a farm a couple years ago in Italy. They're also working in that way. There's places in Australia. There's smaller little groups in America and different places. It's happening. And I should say one thing. You were talking about everybody's interested in IT, but I've been talking to people who are in IT right now, and the biggest attrition in today's Western society is the downsizing of IT right now. It's big. People in IT are losing their jobs, especially in America. So, you can't depend on it even for a livelihood, what to speak of, the activity itself. People who've had those jobs, all of a sudden, they got no job. And now they're worried they can't continue with their, the way they were living. They're struggling. So yeah, all we have to do is follow Srila Prabhupada. Simple living, Krishna consciousness. It's not that you can't have nice things, but still, as long as you depend on this Western society for your livelihood, you're going to find yourself in difficult situations where that dependence will no longer be available. It's already
Just today, there's a Dr. Snehal Donde. She's some expert on water. She's saying by 2040, there will be no drinking water available in India. This is her prediction. How far she's qualified to say this, I don't know. But she has given a timeline, Gurudev. And she talks by 2020, 2030, 2040. And she says, we won't have drinking water. The way the things are getting polluted. Yeah.
Prophetical statements are based on analyzing the present situation and accepting that the present situation will continue in the same way. But if you change the present situation, then you change the future also. So by speaking like that, she's waking people up to the fact that if we continue in the same way we're going, this will be the result. But that doesn't mean we can't change. That's why the purpose of these statements are to wake us up that, hey, we're living in the wrong way. Let's make a change. So these calamities are avoided. Yeah, we're really destroying the earth fast. I mean, it's really fast. Especially with this 5G, now they're playing with 6G. This is destroying the whole environment, destroying people's health. All of the chemicals we put in food and hand soaps. You got all of these liquid soaps now, they're just full of chemicals. You got all of these different sprays that you use, all chemicals everywhere, in the food, in the air. Yeah, and the quality of life is being destroyed simply by the profit motivation. Everything's based on profit. No one cares. The people are manufactured. They don't care about people. All they care about what will make profit. Mhm. And how to sell that to others.
So Gurudev, does it make sense for at least a few people to come together and buy some land just for the future, just for people to wake up and then come to the land? And because if we wait for people to wake up, the land will all be gone, grabbed by all these concrete monster fellows.
Devi, it's happening. Devotees are doing that.
Okay.
Maybe you're not doing it, but somebody's doing it. Devotees are doing it. It's not like it's not happening. I was just in Charlotte, and they just purchased a piece of land. They're going to build a temple, clear it out, and make a community. Columbus, Ohio, they just started building a temple. They got 55 acres of land. Cincinnati, Ohio, just attained a new building, which they're going to turn into a temple. Things are happening around the world. You go to Europe, you go to India, devotees are doing things. Question is, not everybody. It's happening. I might say it's not happening fast enough, or there's not enough devotees educated enough to understand the need for it. That still needs to be, fortified. But it's happening. It's happening. So don't say it's not happening, because it is happening. It's slow.
I don't see anything happening in Mayapur, Gurudev, except more concrete buildings coming up.
Well, the place where I have my house is where we're building a community for Varnashram College there. Bhakti Raghava Swami is on top of that. He's been doing it for the last 20 years. Soon we'll have a college there for educating people in the different varnas. You can be one of the teachers.
Thank you. I look forward to that, Gurudev, very much.
It's there, yeah, it's there in Mayapur to some degree. But Mayapur also there's this whole thing about cleaning up Mayapur now. You've seen that? They make it green again, right? So there are things going on to bring Srila Prabhupada's movement in vogue with his way of doing things. But I'd say we need to keep educating devotees and give them an understanding, so they don't continue to think that their materialistic life that is so convenient and so full of so many varieties of material things is actually life. It's not. It's just a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of time. I mean, you have to have an engineering degree just to take a shower. I walk into some bathrooms, you can't figure out how to take a shower. I mean, it's so complicated. And then, just to grind salt so you can have some salt now, it's just like you got to read the fine print on the thing and make sure you do it exactly. It's like you have to be so knowledgeable and just to do the very simple things in life. This is what Western materialistic society is about, just complicating everything. Really complicating everything. And also qualitizing life in such a way that it's becoming less and less quality. Nowadays, it's very hard to find furniture that's made out of good wood. They got all this crummy stuff now. It's like corrugated garbage. I'm sitting at a desk. If I was pushed too hard on the desk, I could break it, you know. It's like, all this cheap material. They use it so they can put it out fast. And people pay money for it. It breaks down really fast. So they can, the thing is called built-in obsolescence. Make everything wear out quickly so people will buy more, and that way the economy will keep going. People will keep spending. Yeah, so we bought into this way of life and we think it's okay. It's we can't even heat our house. The ceiling in the house is like you have to look up. You need a binoculars just to see your ceiling. You can't even see it. It's so high. Right, Shrimati? Try heating that during the winter time. What is the heating bills? It's like, whoa. Right?
Yes, Maharaj.
Heating bills are like more than your grocery bills.
Maharaj, I just want to inform you, like yesterday, here the devotees closed the land which they were planning to buy for Frisco temple here, new temple.
Where?
Gita. In Frisco, Gurmash, last time when you came here.
Oh,
Yeah, they closed the land, 7.5 acres yesterday.
yeah. There's another place, Dallas. They're doing something. They just bought 7.5 acres. It's even got some water on the land. It's good land.
Yeah.
I went out to see it. Because now it's a matter of working and developing it where it can be used. But that kind of activity is really beneficial. We sit in front of computers. That's not even healthy. Get outside. Dig your hands in the soil. Do some work. Prabhupada talks about how in today's society, he said, he put it in a very interesting way. He said, not one inch on leg. Not 1 inch on leg. Every time we want to do something, we jump in the car and we drive 1 block away instead of walking to the store. Now people are making up for that. They're simply going out and they're running. They see a lot of people out there running now because they live a very unhealthy lifestyle. And then they have to go out and make out difference by spending, an hour a day running. You get some kind of energy back or some health back. Modern civilization is an anomaly. It's not that modernization is an anomaly, it's the goal of this modern civilization, which is the anomaly. They got these things now you can lay in your bed, you look up and you can see your clock on your ceiling. And then you push a button and then you can set the time without even getting up, and then when it rings, you can push another button and it stops. Well, you can see the clock on your ceiling. What? I mean, is that really necessary? It's just, these are all toys for big people. That's cars that drive by themselves. You sit there by the wheel and the car turns the corner, stops, goes. You don't do anything. You pay $85,000, $90,000 to get a car like that. if your kid comes to you and says, spend $90,000 on me for Christmas toys, you'll think you're crazy, you know. But we're buying these cars that cost $90,000, just like a big toy, you know.
Yes, Manoj. Trudy Mataji, you have a question? You can unmute Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranam to everyone, that Pranam Guru Maharaj. Just two things. One is when we talked about, when Shridevi Mataji said about this farming and all that, I just want to bring it to this information that my son here, he heads the Project Grow for temple in Watford here in Bhaktivedanta Mandir. And yesterday I happened to I happened to go to the Soho temple for just for worshiping and thanking the Lord. And he sent some potatoes with me to take it to the Lord for Pujari kitchen from his garden. And he and I spoke to a couple of people there in the Pujari kitchen and at the reception, and they were part of that Project Grow, and they were saying how helpful he is, and they're growing a lot of flowers and vegetables in their own gardens and bring it to the temple. So this is just to say that in a smaller scale, or whatever he's doing, and there's lots of other devotees who are part of the Project Grow here in London, and you know, they're growing the produces for their own household as well, and they take it to the temple for the Lord's offering and everything, which is, I think, is quite you know, quite a progress on a smaller scale, obviously. And Krishna has given him a bit land on behind his garden, so he plants a lot of produces there, and he uses his for his family and others, and take it to the temple as well. So you know, I think on a smaller scale people are doing it, but I have heard people here in some devotees has got bought an allotments just to do this, and getting other devotees involved in the project to grow things, fruits and vegetables and whatever not, for their own consumption, and to take it to the temple, which is you know, for Lord service. So just wanted to bring that to attention. And also what Maharaj said about Bhakti Raghav Swami Maharaj was doing this Varnashram college. So yesterday I went in the afternoon to Soho temple. So one of the Prabhu there, Sachi Nitya Prabhu, was heading the lunch class on Varnashram actually. And he was talking about it. And there was one devotee from Lithuania. She is doing dissertation on Varnashram. So he mentioned this Prabhu Maharaj's name, that she should contact him, Bhakti Raghav, because he's intellectual and academically quite capable enough to guide her and advise her on how to do things. And we did a little experiment, Maharaj, yesterday. He asked if somebody is brave enough to give the date of birth, and he put it in a Varna calculator. So out of all these people, I was brave enough to give them my birth date. And it gave me the Varna and Gana of my birth, my Shudra. They said I'm supposed to be Shudra, and the Gana was the Deva. But I am born in a Brahmin family. And you know, so that was a little bit confusing, but they said they do these statistics it's computerized, and anybody can put their date of birth, and it can give you the Varna of the time and the birth and the place and the state you're born and everything. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Yeah, that's a good thing, doing this, because the food we grow on our own farms are much better in quality than what we buy in the stores anyway, along with having to not waste time, and then it engages devotees in devotional service in a very beneficial way. Instead of going out and working a job in some office, grow some food. And you can also use that to not only to give it to the temples, but also can also sell it and make money in that way also. So yeah, simple living is not a deficiency. It is actually natural, and it saves so much time, energy, and it helps one to get more time for devotional service. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop here, or I'm gonna I have to leave.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Such a
Hare
nice.
Krishna.
Thank you,
Yeah.
dear devotees.
And I should be able to see you all tomorrow for
Yes.
tomorrow's class.
Yes,
Thank you very much for this class. Hare Krishna.
Srimad Bhagavatam
Hare
Srila
Hare
Prabhupada
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Candramauli Swami ki jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very